Hi everyone, my name is Jiajing Chen. I have been studying at the University of Queensland for 2 years and I major in TESOL. Today I'm going to talk about using the podcast in English teaching and learning in the context of China. There were four main parts in today's presentation. So firstly, I'm going to talk about what the podcast is and the podcast application. So where we can use the podcast in teaching or learning process and how can use it. Next, the benefits or values of the podcast. And finally, the shortcoming of the podcast. What's the podcast? A podcast is a digital audio technology. Most of them in the format of the audio-based. The podcast producer publish their audio on the internet and allow users to subscribe. This method became popular in the 2004. With the continuous development and the popularity of technology, podcasts have become more and more widely used in the English teaching or learning process. After introducing what podcast is, in this slide, I will talk the application of the podcast. Firstly, podcast can be used in English classroom as a supplementary teaching tool. As we all know, books and the teachers are the only two ways in which students can learn in the classroom. However, as China is a non-English speaking country, many English teachers often use Chinese in English classroom. For example, I did a classroom observation project at a Chinese university, and I found that most teachers only use English when teaching pronunciation of words and reading tests. The rest of time they taught in Chinese. This then results in students only being exposed to fragmented English. In contrast, podcasts can provide students with a more complex and authentic language environment. Podcasts can also be used outside the classroom, either as a supplement of after class or as the means of self-learning. Students can learn English anytime and anywhere. There were many benefits of using podcasts to learn English. Firstly, it can provide more authentic English environment, which is quite important for Chinese students. Additionally, most podcasts on internet are free to access. For some self-learning students, podcasts can offer more expert and professional instruction for them because they just need to pick a series of podcast courses and just follow along. They don't need to spend much more time on selecting learning materials. And finally, because of the COVID-19, it made us to rethink how we could deliver content in an on-time capacity. While podcasts are good, using podcasts are a good solution to deal with this problem. Of course, using podcasts has also presented some problems. For example, students can easily get distracted when studying on their mobile phones. They may turn off the podcast when the teacher is not looking at them and then play the other games. In addition, for some students who are in remote area or backward area of China, it's difficult for them to use technology to learn English, even using the podcast. This is an educational inequality for the whole society. Well, thanks for your listening.